Alright, number 1, 2, and 3, just classification. So the classification for number 1 should just be rational. Number 2, the square root of 12 is irrational. And 10 is natural. Alright, now ordering numbers. So let's see, a negative number would always be less than a positive number. Now, I do know that negative 2.5 is less than negative 1/5 because I know 1/5 as a decimal is 0.2. And then we're just left with 1/3 and 1, and that should be pretty obvious that 1/3 is less than 1. Okay, now we get to a whole slew of negative numbers. Let's check. Well, I'm assuming negative 4 or 0.4 or 4.6 is bigger than, or should be smaller than these two. But negative 14/3, let's figure that one out. Probably as a mixed number, that would be 3 goes into that 4 times with the remainder of a 2. So that's 4 and 2, negative 4 and 2/3, which is 4.6 repeating. So this is the smallest, then it's, excuse me, or this one's the smallest, negative 14/3, then it's negative 4.6, then it would be negative 4 1/3, because that's negative 4.3 repeating, and then finally negative 4.07. Okay, let's move on down here a little bit. Sum or difference, so we're just finding the sum or the difference. I have 2 negatives in a row. That means I'm subtracting a negative number, or what's the opposite of a negative 12? Well, either case that turns to a plus. So that's positive 15. This would be negative 6. Over here we should have negative 9.7. On number 9, we should end up, well, that's plus plus, so it works like subtraction. So we should end up with, is it 9.2? I think that's right. If not, you guys can email me and let me know. Number 10, ooh, unlike fractions. So I'm just going to go crisscross applesauce. 10 times 1 is 10. Minus 2 times 7, which is 14, all divided by 20 would be my common denominator. I didn't feel like just multiplying that by 5 because this is just a little faster for me, so I get negative 4/20, which then reduces to negative 1/5. And if I end up over here on number 7, we have to change this, so that would be 39/5, excuse me, that's a 9. Minus 9/4, and let's find a common denominator here. So that would probably just be 20. Would be just as easy. So let's just crisscross and then applesauce. 4 times 39. Well, 40 times 4 should be 160, but we're 39, so that we should be at 156. Minus 5 times 9 is 45. All over 20. 45 minus that should be 100. And 111? Yeah. All over 20. Okay, and don't see anything that goes into that. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that's my answer. I'm not actually going to convert that one at all. Alright, now we go down to 12 and 13. And let's see, it looks like we got a lot of decimals. Now, for the sake of time, I am going to use my calculator a little bit, just so I can do this a little faster. Okay, but do remember on the test you won't be able to use a calculator. Oh, I have a negative minus a negative, so that changes to a plus. So I would have to go 2.8 plus 5.4, and then subtract 1.4 from that. So I should get 6.8. Okay, and now we'll do the same thing over here. We should have negative 5.4 plus 2.8 minus 10. This one I think I can kind of do a little bit. Plus that should be 7.2, excuse me, negative 7.2, which changes to a positive 7.2. Negative 5.4 plus 7.2 like that. Is that 1.8? I think that's right. Yeah, 1.8. Okay, let's go to page 2, and we'll start with the products in quotient. Negative 6 times negative 12, that should be a positive 72. 45 divided by negative 3 should be negative 15. And we have 5/9 times that. Well, let's change that 3 to a 1 and that to a 3. So then I should end up with negative 5 over 12. Negative 7.2 divided by 8 should be negative 0.9. Oh, division of a fraction, so I have negative 4 over 1 times negative 9 over 2. 2 cancels, becomes a 1, that becomes a 2, so I should end up with negative 18. And over here, oh boy, 2 cancels that to make that a 2. 18 goes into that, so that's a 9. And that makes that, so I should just end up with 3, I believe. Okay, now let's look at number 20 here. Okay, so this looks like a lot of number crunching, and again, just for the sake of time, I am just going to multiply. So it supposes in 1 week a person sells 8 clocks, so we go 8 times 4.13 to get $33.04. And then we're going to go plus 5 frame mirrors, but that's a negative number, so plus, well, excuse me, let's just go 5 times 1.65, so that should be a negative 8.25, and then 3 candles times 0.36, so it should be 7.08, and now we'll add all those numbers together. 33.04 minus 8.25 should end up with a grand total of $31.87. Okay, well, let's keep on moving. We're on 21. Simplify the expression. Okay, there's a negative sign out in front, which means everything in front will change signs, because you can think that there's a 1 there, except for it's a negative 1. So now I have 10x minus 3. Well, 10x minus an x, that should just give me 9x minus 3. Number 22, distributing everything in, that should be negative 2x squared plus 12. And on 23, ooh, this one's kind of tricky. Let's look at it this way. What number goes into everything? The 6, the 15, and the 10. Well, I don't really see anything there, so I'm kind of confused on this problem, what I'm trying to remember that I was supposed to do. All right, going back to my notes, this is something we missed, but it's how to rewrite a fraction. You can go negative 6x over negative 10, and then go plus 15 over negative 10. You can separate it like that. So now let's see, what goes into these two here? Well, 6 and 10, those are both divisible by 2, and they're both, excuse me, negative 2s, so this should become 3/5 x. And 15 divided by negative 10, well, looks like a 5 goes in, so it'd be minus 3/2. Okay, so now number 24. All right, perimeter and area. Well, we'll do the area first. Area is equal to length times width, so I need to go 6 times 4 plus 2w, like that. So I should end up with 24 plus 12w. Now to do perimeter, I simply must think, well, if this is a rectangle, the length and width on either side are the same. Now I just have to combine everything. So 6 and 6 is 12, 4 and 4 is 8, and 2w and 2w is 4w to give me a grand answer of 30 plus 4w, and that would be my perimeter. All right, and approximate to the nearest integer. Well, square root of 35. Well, that's getting really close to 36, and 36 is a perfect square. 6 times 6 is 36, so I'm just going to go ahead and say, let's say that's 6. Ooh, negative square root of 150. 150. Well, 12 times 12 is 144. So let's just go ahead and say that that's probably close to negative 12 then, because of the negative sign out in front. And 18. 18 is really close to 16. 4 times 4 is 16. So let's go ahead and say that that's 4. The area of the town square is 14,400. Whew. Find the length of the square. So forget about the 2 zeros for now. We'll figure that out in a second. 144. Well, 12 times 12 is 144, so I bet it's 12, but then where do the 2 zeros come in? Well, if you add a 0 and you think this off to the side, 120 times 120, what you should get is you will end eventually with 2 zeros at the end, and then 12 times 12 is 144. So that's how that one works. That's kind of a real quick way. Oh, let's do some evaluating down here. If I plug 25 into there, I should get 2 minus the square root of 25. Square root of 25 is 5, so 2 minus 5 comes out to negative 3. Plug that in there. I get 4 times the square root of 1 plus 9. Square root of 1 is 1, times 4 is 4. 4 plus 9 is 13. 30. Okay, got to distribute here. 5x to x and 2x, so let's say that that is 5x squared plus 10x. Plus, well, let's distribute that piece. That's 2x minus 2. Okay, this does not combine with anything because you can't combine an x and an x squared, but those are just x's. So I can say that I have 5x squared plus 12x minus 2. 31 works the same way. Let's go. 2 times 6 is 12 minus 6x minus, ooh, close one, plus 3x squared minus 12. Okay, what combines? What combines? Hey, that 12 and that negative 12 cancel, so I'm left with negative 6x plus 3x squared. And on the bottom, oh, I got to distribute a fraction. Oh no, 3 halves times 4. Well, 3 times 4 is 12, divided by 2 is 6x. 3 times 6 is 18, divided by 2 is 9. Minus, oh, let's think that there's a 1 there and distribute that negative 1, so it's negative 2x plus 7, changes the signs. I have a 6x and minus 2x, so that is 4x plus 16. And last 3 questions. Determine if the given example is a function. So let's look at my inputs here. I have a negative 4, I have a negative 3, I have a 5, and I have a 6. Nothing is repeated, so this is a function. I look again at the inputs. Hey, negative 4 goes to 0, negative 3 goes to 2, and a 9. That doesn't work, so that is not a function. Every input can only have one output. I can't put in a negative 3 one time and get 2, and then plug it in a different time and suddenly get 9. Doesn't work. And 35 is a function because there is no vertical line that I can draw that will cross that curve more than one time. So that is a function.